currently 8:55 in the morning. So 12 hours from now, the NBA Finals will kick off with the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Boston Celtics. And you can probably tell I got the Dallas Mavericks. And all jokes aside, I am very excited for these NBA Finals. I think it's going to be competitive. It's going to be fun, regardless of however it goes and regardless on who comes out on top. I think it's going to be an enjoyable series, at least for everybody who doesn't have a horse in the race. But I think that's just going to be like tremendous basketball games over the next like week and a half, 2 weeks. Thing that I keep seeing is, and it's something that's been on my mind a lot going into the series, is this idea of Kyrie Irving getting revenge on the Celtics. Everybody, for whatever reason, wants to pick the Dallas Mavericks to win the NBA championship over Boston. It's funny because I saw a poll on YouTube, and I think it had like 12,000 people. Pick your champion for the NBA and explain why. And a lot of people were picking the Mavericks, and they didn't have any clear or concise kind of logic behind it. It just seems like people were saying like, oh, it's just for the vibe. People didn't want to pick the Celtics just for the sake of not picking the Celtics, which is fine, because if the Celtics do end up winning the championship, we're going to remember which side of history you chose to be on. Crazy when that word history comes up, because obviously Kyrie has a lot of history with the Celtics. There's a lot of history between players on both sides, and we're talking more about Kyrie and how he spent 2 years with Boston. Obviously, the way he went out wasn't the same way he was brought in. I feel, and I'm just gonna say this right now, I loved Kyrie when he was playing here, and unfortunately, things to turn out how they did, but it seems like it turned out good for both sides. Obviously, Kyrie made it back to the NBA Finals, and obviously the Celtics have made it back to the NBA Finals a couple times now since Kyrie has left. This whole idea of Kyrie it's a revenge series for him, it's not. And I think anybody who believes that either A, doesn't watch basketball, or B, just wants to be willfully ignorant to what really happened. And take it from me, I bared witness to exactly how the Kyrie saga turned out, at least from my point of view as a fan. Kyrie was brought in, pretty much he wanted to become kind of like the best player on a championship team, or pretty much the best player on a great team, and he wanted to bear that responsibility and kind of get out of LeBron's shadow and pretty much like take the reins of his own franchise. So he gets traded to Boston for Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder and a couple of picks and that whole trade package. He ends up getting injured as the Celtics were the number 1 seed, or I believe it was the number 1 or 2 seed, but I know they were definitely top 2. Kyrie gets injured. Obviously, Gordon Hayward got injured in the first game of the season. Kyrie misses the 2018 playoffs, and the Celtics go to the Eastern Conference Finals and lose to the Cavaliers in 7. And it was a blessing and a curse. It was great to see that a bunch of these young guys stepped up, like with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Terry Rozier and other guys, and even Al Horford being that vet. The curse part comes because the 2019 season from hell, Gordon Hayward wasn't his usual self, especially after that awful ankle injury that I watched. I got home from driver's ed, and on my bike I was riding home just to be able to see like Kyrie and like all the new faces on the Celtics, and then I turn on the TV and see Gordon Hayward's leg on the side like that. So a few games and then lose a few games, they'll blow leads and lose games to like the Bulls and other teams that they had no business in losing to. Beginning of that season, or in the preseason, you had Kyrie, obviously now it's infamous that he comes out in front of the Boston Celtic fans during some sort of preseason event or something, and he says,
shared it with some of my teammates as well as the organization and everyone else in Boston. You guys will have me back. I plan on re-signing here next year.
that would have been great, because that was what everybody was thinking about at the time, is Kyrie. Would Kyrie stay? Would he go? It sucked that the 2019 season turned out the way it did, because I think it was just the worst possible scenarios that occurred. And the Celtics just felt like they weren't clicking, and it just felt like there was too many cooks in the kitchen. Like you had guys like Brown and Tatum wanting to take those next steps, and then you have other people like Terry Rozier felt like he needed to get shots up, and Marcus Morris felt like he needed to get shots up, and Gordon Hayward, he wanted to kind of prove that ankle injury didn't like ruin his career. And then you have like Kyrie at the center of it, because the media and everybody would keep asking, and it was just like the interviews he would have were just very like it just something didn't feel right about that team at all. And then they proceed to win their first round matchup against Indiana, but then they proceed to pretty much get mollywopped by the Bucks, and like Kyrie shot terribly that series, and it was just the way he went out, like on the court anyway, just wasn't ideal. And he was given like he was saying stuff like, I'm in playoff mode now, and that kind of thing. It just seems like something wasn't right with him, and it like pretty much it just closed the book on a pretty crappy season. And then you have free agency, and I was more or less just like a bunch of Celtics fans were just under the assumption that I think Kyrie was gone. And I think we kind of got the inclination even going into the second half of the year that it seemed like that claim that he made at the beginning of the season just was no longer there.
Your mindset shifted though in regards to re-signing with Boston, like the announcement?
Ask me July 1st.
He goes to Brooklyn, and everything really starts coming to a head. I would like to remember Kyrie as the guy who was wearing his like the Celtics jersey with pride.
Kyrie, a bomb! Oh! Straight fire!
That's how I wanted to remember Kyrie. Pretty sure I'm in a select group of individuals when I say that. It just feels like the way he left could have been a lot better, and I think a lot of things could have worked out a lot differently. And I would like to believe that he probably would have thought the same way. But again, I couldn't speak for him. I couldn't speak for really anybody who's involved in that situation. However, he goes to Brooklyn, and ever since then, he has been vilified by Boston. Like when he was with Cleveland, that's one thing. It's like, oh, you're booing him because like, you know, he's good. And I think it's for Boston, it's out of anger and frustration of how things didn't work out when he was here and how he left. So he is going into these finals. He's going to have to deal with a lot of just those same things, because now it's different. Now you're the villain in a bunch of these fans' eyes that are going to be at these games. Now you have the opportunity to be the reason why this organization, this team isn't hoisting another championship. But the fact that people say that this is a Kyrie revenge story, he has the opportunity to do one of the funniest things probably in NBA history if Dallas manages to win the championship. Same time, Kyrie isn't getting revenge on the Celtics, because Kyrie, in short, he left the Celtics high and dry. How does it look that you say at the beginning of the year you plan on re-signing, and then over the course of the season, yes, the season didn't go the way anybody would have wanted, and like it just doesn't sit right with me that you would say that. And then I get it, people's minds change, but I just think going to get people's hopes up, it kind of reminds me of the Red Sox. You get fans' hopes up and then proceed to just eventually just not hold yourself accountable to what you said. So at that point, it's like, why did you say it in the first place? Kyrie goes and creates a dynamic duo with Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, going back home in a sense for him. I don't blame him for going back home. And it's also the situation he went to as well. He didn't want to be kind of the main option, you know, on the Celtics anymore. Okay, I tried this out, it didn't work. And then proceeds to make a dynamic duo with Kevin Durant, even though he was coming off Achilles injury. And then eventually they get in James Harden and create, like, on paper, one of the best looking big threes, but obviously they played not even, I think, like 30 games together combined or something like that. They beat the Celtics in the first round, and I remember watching that series, and I think Jason Tatum had like a 50 ball or something to steal one game. And Kyrie proceeds to step on Lucky, the Celtics logo. And it's stuff like that. It's like you're not making it better for yourself, and it sucks that it came to that kind of thing. Because me as a basketball fan, I wouldn't want to see that kind of stuff to happen. Some people enjoy the drama, and some people love that kind of stuff to fuel times like this with the NBA Finals. But I just think that, and it's funny how that has been more or less kind of just like an omen of, because after that, like Kyrie got injured. Which was unfortunate for Brooklyn, because in all seriousness, if he didn't get injured, and like that Brooklyn Nets team, even without James Harden, probably should have made the 2021 NBA Finals. In any case, Kyrie got hurt with his ankle, and then they proceed to lose out on that opportunity. And then the very next year, the Celtics sweep the Brooklyn Nets. The narrative starts being created that, like, you know, Kyrie can't beat the Celtics. He's 0-10 in his last 10 career games against Boston, ever since he stomped on the Celtics logo. If he wants to chalk it up that it's immaturity on his part and kind of just being in a place and not in the right state of mind, I can understand that, but it's just you have to understand it for kind of just the situational sense or just the environment you're doing that in. Can't say that Kyrie's like the adversity Kyrie's got out to face in Boston is not warranted for some of the things that he did, the way he went out and what he proceeded to do after he left. I can understand and I can agree with the fact that he's grown, and I think he's kind of understand now that he is like he's the player who he is. He kind of feels a lot more comfortable in his own skin, and it seems like he feels more comfortable on the basketball court. And he's been one of the key reasons why Dallas has been so good. He was always best suited as a sidekick, where he can be great on his own, but he's at his very best when he's the second part of that duo. So whether it was with Luka, whether it was with Kevin Durant, where Kyrie was still putting up great numbers, or whether it was with LeBron, he didn't have that in Boston because he didn't want that. And in all seriousness, if he stayed, he probably would have had that with Tatum and Brown if he stayed for a few more years. And that was always something interesting that I would have looked at, is like, what would the Celtics team would have looked like if Kyrie would have stayed? And it sucks we didn't get full understanding of what like those Kyrie-led teams would have looked like if like things worked out differently. But that's just the story of the game. The story of the game is now is that Kyrie and the Dallas Mavericks are in the way of Boston hoisting up banner number 18. And on the other side, Boston is in the way of Kyrie hitting that mountaintop once again, because this is his 4th career NBA Finals, and he hasn't been in the finals since 2017. So it's still been a long time coming. So I think it's going to be a feeling out process in game 1. And regardless of that fact, people can look at it as a Kyrie revenge series, but it's just I hope that I made it an understanding that it's not. If anything, it's a revenge series for the Celtics. And it's just the sheer fact of how Kyrie left. I don't think it didn't really seem like he was forced out or nothing like that. If people want to say it's a revenge series because of just like how the NBA or how basketball fans around the world kind of alienated him during his time in Brooklyn and kind of blacklisted him, and how teams didn't want him and that kind of thing, then yeah, but I would just want to try to set the record straight of Kyrie wanted to leave Boston. Didn't make things much easier when he left Boston. A lot of people would say he quit on the Celtics. A lot of people will say those kinds of things, and the reason being is some of the stuff that he did. It's like saying he wanted to stay and then didn't, and then proceeds after he leaves to kind of rub salt in the wound. It's like he beats them in first round series and then steps on the logo, and then he's flipping off fans, and then you have fans throwing bottles at him, and I think it all comes out of a place of I wish things were better and I wish things were different. We're at this moment in time where the Celtics and the Mavericks are going to face off in about 11 hours. So it's going to be fun. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm so excited. And I can't wait to get started. I just know it's going to be so anxiety inducing, because it's just, a lot of people would say like just the script writers weren't fucking around with this one. So you guys check out vendettasportsmedia.com to stay up to date with all things NBA and finals related. Check out Matt Hanafan's post, X Factors, and who do they think is going to win. Like a bunch of us made sure to contribute to some of those posts, so it's a really good read. And yeah, that's going to do it for me, and I'll see you guys next time.